42nd anniversary of NTA Abeokuta Channel 12 Pioneers Forum was held at NTA Abeokuta premises, Ogbe, on Saturday, the 30th of October. The event saw the convergence of NTA Abeokuta pioneers, friends, families, other media agencies, well-wishers, among other dignitaries. The event was a two-in-one program comprising of a public lecture and the launch of the book titled First Person Personal, My Abeokuta Story. The book has 3 chapters, with contributions from old and few current members of the staff of the station. The book also chronicles the experiences and other ingredients needed to overcome some of the challenges of TV broadcast for optimal performance. The event started with an opening prayer. After which the General Manager, Mrs. Fumi Wakama, gave a welcome address.
Former General Managers, my auntie, Auntie Efe Eka Bosori Toa. I see General Managers of media houses here. I can see Dr. Diaino, former Director, because if you had not laid the solid foundation, we would not be here today. All we're doing here is just to put bricks, mortar, a little paint here and there. That is all we are doing here today. And when we also leave the stage, those coming behind will add more bricks and more bricks to what you've done. So, I salute you all. I salute your hard work, your perseverance, your being together till this time. The
president of the Pioneers Forum, Mr. Olalekan Ajia, gave his opening remark where he mentioned that the target of the forum is to give back to the station for impacting greatly on the lives and also to leave an enduring legacy for humanity.
In August 2018, we gathered ourselves together, among other things, to promote friendship, unity, and mutual well-being among pioneer staff and others who also may subsequently serve as employees of NTA Abeokuta, to seek ways and means of supporting the welfare and happiness of members of the forum within the limits of our resources, and to contribute to the growth, progress, and development of NTA Abeokuta as much as our resources permit. Your presence here today, the eagerness with which you look forward to being here, the presence of our dear friends and partners, some of whom we started the journey 42 years ago. Thank you, Dr. Bolade Oshunawo. Thank you, Professor Lai Osho. And our latest friend, Alhaji Murtala Sule, popularly known all over Nigeria and other parts of the world as Muri, who is our associate editor of this publication. We thank you. The warm welcome we always receive from Mrs. Fumi Wakama, current General Manager, the management and staff of NTA Abeokuta, all indicate to me that to some extent, we are beginning to succeed in our objectives. Congratulations, my dear colleagues. The book we gather to present to the world is what I call a two-way revolving mirror about ourselves, our journey, about NTA Abeokuta, about NTA as a whole, our profession, our industry, and our country, Nigeria. There are lessons to be learned about values, dedication, selflessness, and teamwork. There are lessons to be learned about inspirational management and abuse of authority. There are lessons to be learned about generosity of power when you are on top, and the ultimate ridiculous temporariness of power when misused. We have told our stories with humor, with passion and compassion, with sadness for the dear colleagues who are no longer with us, but whose remembrance is everlasting. I thank you all for bringing to fruition an idea that germinated almost as soon as we began to gather together.
This was followed by the address of the chairman of the occasion, Dr. Bolade Oshinowo.
And I always say, I didn't just jump from teaching into politics. I went via broadcasting because it was as the moderator of Issues of the Week that I got invited to come and join an interview panel of the then Governor BC Onabanjo. And it was after that program that he invited me for a chat, which eventually led to my appointment as a special assistant on media and publicity. One of those with whom I work very closely is today's reviewer, Professor Lai Osho. In those heydays of rivalry between MPN and UPN, after the UPN government had established Gateway Television, OGTV, there was a rumor that the MPN government was coming to arrest all the staff. So we decided to set up a kind of rebel broadcasting studio in the governor's office in case of any incasity, as our children will say today. And Professor Lai Osho, or Lai Osho as he was then known, was one of those who worked very hard with me at the studio then. Needless to say, the author whose book we are launching today, Mr. Olalikun Ajia, was a close collaborator here, and I'm very happy to see other people with whom we had worked then. Akobun was in the same drama troupe as myself, and he has always been close to me since then. And as he said, even in politics, in 2019, he was on my neck to try and gain some favor for his people, which I was luckily able to do, or he would have lambasted me today, I'm sure. So I wish to congratulate Mr. Olalikun Ajia for the gestation of his ideas and the successful path in the form of a book, which I'm sure we are all eager to read. And I look forward to the review by my brother and friend, Professor Lai Osho. I expect that we will have a very enjoyable afternoon here.
The book reviewer, Professor Lai Osho, a professor of mass communication, reviewed the book, and some of the highlights were centered on the key components of teamwork, as contained in page 222 of the book, while also revealing that operators of today's broadcast media need to be empowered with skills in overcoming challenges that hinder their performance.
So I want to put on record my appreciation for the invitation. When Mr. Jia called me and said this assignment, I said, we have a choice. I have no choice. It is like giving back to the organization what I've taken from the organization. So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank him and his team for the good work they have done in putting this together. Well, let me just, it's not a final review yet, because my thinking was I would just come and just say something about the material sent to me. But when he started calling me, I said, let me try to put something together. So you see that it's not even properly typed, but I will try to go through. So I want to thank each and every one of us for being here. This is a remarkable occasion, and I have a feeling that other organizations will be able to copy this kind of endeavor. Now let me just read what I have. I borrowed from a statement from Mrs. Oladimeji's contribution, and I titled this NTA Abeokuta, the shallow and rough sea that made skillful sailors. This is an unusual book. It is unusual in the sense that, unlike the usual memoir or autobiography or biography or book of reminiscences, we can hear the voices, share the experiences of both the big and the small men and women. The memoirs we are familiar with is often written by big men and often very few women. History is usually told from the perspectives and experiences of the powerful, but here it is different. The book is a testimony to the fact that people, in a collective manner and across class and status divides, make history. Institutions, as graphically related in this book, are built by the collective effort of all those involved. But such institutions develop and outlive those who built them, especially if the foundation is solid and the pioneers produce good successors. In this book, we can see the commitment and dedication of what some of the contributors call "I can do it" spirit of both the mighty and not so mighty. Those in the labor balance that are from the shop floor, the workers, can be heard recalling their individual experiences and contributions to the making of NTA Abeokuta Channel 12. They give us unvarnished testimonials of their former bosses and their colleagues. The book, I'm sure, quite unintended by the contributors, is full of lessons, particularly lessons in organizational leadership and interpersonal relationships. One of the elements that built NTA was the leadership style of those saddled with position of authority in the organization. As many of the contributors recall, the recruitment procedure was quite informal, without sacrificing merit and competence. This informality seems to have percolated down the organization's hierarchy. In terms of interpersonal relationships, almost everybody knew and visited Iyagbogbo, Auntie B, and Olushibia and pepper soup joints. The news people created a platform, all roads, to socialize and know each other's families. With the possible exception of only one case, NTA Abeokuta was lucky to have had people in leadership positions who ran the organization with human face. These are leaders who, through their personal examples, discipline and dedication to duty, believed that despite the challenges, the work must be done, that they were very much interested in the welfare and development of their subordinates. Despite the lean resources of the organization, they created opportunities for them to improve their professional and academic status. The unit heads commended deserving staff and encouraged them to aspire to greater heights and climb the ladder of the hierarchy. This empowering leadership philosophy and style is eloquently stated in Dr. Biodun Shotumbi's contribution. I think every manager and those aspiring to be must read this contribution. It is highly inspiring. The staff reciprocated such gestures with their loyalty and commitment to duty and to the organization. The inadequacies and teething problems of the fledgling organization did not discourage them. The leadership style and interdepartmental cooperation was evident in the different narratives in the book. Sukomi Ajayi put this as, and I quote it, "True love, where new staff and program staff will fight over the use of camera and vehicle in the morning, and you will see them drinking beer together in the evening." End of quote. It was a perfect demonstration of camaraderie. This rubbed off on the organization in many ways. Reading the book reminds me of my days as a reporter in the News Agency of Nigeria here in Abeokuta. NAN and NTA share the same building at Shabo. Most of the people that featured in the book are well known to me. But more important are the challenges we face as reporters in those days. I remember the endless hours at Shakon Nitel office to send stories to Ibadan Zona office. No GSM, no internet, no social media. Yet, you must not fail. Young reporters of these days may not appreciate the daunting challenges of media practice in those days. Journalism and program production are not just about technology, but skills and creativity matter a lot. This is another lesson we must learn from this book. Reading the various contributions will also make us to realize the fundamental changes that technology has created for both journalism and media production in general. With the type and quality of equipment available, we can just wonder how NTA Abeokuta was able to produce and transmit its programs in those days. The ingenuity of the staff was demonstrated in many instances. A member of staff from the engineering department constructed the OB van. Another one built the open studio. Recording was done in the open air, with the sun blazing its hot rays on everybody. While cameramen, and I'm sure Akim will testify to that, while cameramen had to use their shoulders as tripod. However long the recording time, the pictures must be steady. The very popular logo of the station was designed by a cameraman, while its equally popular signature tune was composed by the head of operations. I'm sure many of us can remember the signature tune. I'm allowed. Yes, that was it. It was just commitment. The spirit that the job must be done. I think the description given by Mr. Kayode Da Silva best fits the character of the staff, and I quote it. The staff were dynamic, hardworking, vibrant, resourceful, resilient, and great achievers. It continued. Newcomers are willing and ready to learn. From the experiences narrated by almost everybody, despite the challenges, the working environment was enriching. People learned to cope, and they were fulfilled based on the achievement recorded and their post-NTA endeavors. I read in some of the contributions what people have gone to do after leaving NTA Abeokuta, and they testified that the foundation was actually laid there. That is something that the organization must be very much proud of. NTA 12 Abeokuta, the Agbole station, as described by Mrs. Oladimeji, has paid its dues far beyond the resources at the disposal of its managers and staff to the Nigerian broadcasting industry and the nation. As Mrs. Oladimeji further puts it, smooth sails do not make skillful sailors. The challenges and inadequacies brought out the best in everybody, and they were the better. UNICEF were ready to experiment with untested hands, push them, and made the best out of them. There were hilarious moments. What does one do but to laugh at the situation when someone took the first course in a meal at an hotel as the main course, fill his tummy with well-baked bread, only for the main menu to surface later? Or take the case of a member of staff who emptied his pockets to spray Sunny Ade at the layer party. The high level of professionalism shown by the staff is attested to not just by the numerous awards won at different TV festivals, but the refusal of the management and the staff to breach ethical standards. The journalists, out of professional commitment, resisted intimidation and harassment from military and civilian government. I am sure Mr. Idiaino, Benga Gbeson, and Oladoshu. And I can't remember whether it was so was the head or someone. When there were pressures on you to use certain story, both from Abuja or Lagos during Shagari and from Ogun State here, and even up to the time of Benga Daniel, there were pressures on these stations from what I read, and people resisted that no way, this is not what we are set up to do. So this is something that, for me, is a landmark achievement for the station. When and where they could not say no, I read in the paper, in one of the commission, they mess up the story positively. Those involved in this episode can only explain what this entailed. Then professional excellence and public service were the guiding philosophy of the station. Programs like Egbeyewo, Ogbon Agba, Get Smart, a quiz program, and its Yoruba counterpart, Fogboyo, were not just well produced, but very educative. In those days, watching television was a delight for the entire family. Running through the pages of this book are praises and accolades showered on individuals, by superiors on subordinates, by subordinates on their organs, and of course, among peers. Such is rare in many organizations. People openly testifying to the contributions of others to their successes. You don't get that in many places. Almost all of us Nigerians are self-made. And I say there is no self-made man anywhere in the world. At least some people give back to me. NTA Abeokuta provided the environment for mutual admiration, respect, and collaboration by the staff. Under a very purposeful, people-centered leadership. Most of the leaders were like goldsmiths who brought out ornaments of honor out of raw gold dust. But it is not just all sweet memories. Egos were bruised. Some felt disappointed. There were bitter stories of office politics, envy, and jealousy, at least as related by a former manager. There is the story of a former GM who seems to be very autocratic. Like the typical Nigerian big man, he attempted to change everything he met on ground, including the station's identity. He left on a very sour note, rescued by some of those he had maltreated. As the saying goes, nothing lasts forever. Those charged with the organization of the Labour Party could not meet their target. They were surcharged and the money deducted from their salary. The narratives in this book may be personal stories, the experiences of the individuals within the organization, but the stories speak to all of us. They are stories, as one of the contributors said, of how to make lemonade out of lemons. They speak to all of us about how quality leadership, a leadership that motivates its workforce, can turn individuals into a community of dedicated, committed, and loyal followership. These personal stories and reflections tell us that little drops of water make the mighty ocean. They tell us that rough seas breed skillful sailors. NTA Abeokuta Channel 12 was shallow in terms of resources, was and still rough in terms of physical terrain. I can remember climbing Okekuya for programs in those days. But has produced skillful, rugged, professional sailors. These personal stories provide us the primary materials through which interested people can interrogate our public institutions and social relationship building among professionals. We have the stories from the horse's mouth. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity and for listening. Thank you.
Thereafter, the book was launched and various people gave their goodwill messages.
Influence is a very strong one. Same influence that led my sister to go into the broadcasting line. Sadly, our mom passed before I could even make this kind of.
After the launch and goodwill messages, Board of Trustees, Pioneers Forum of NTA Abeokuta, Mrs. Dupe Oladimeji, gave a vote of thanks.
God, let me thank our chairman, Dr. Bolade Oshinowo. In fact, we feel highly honored by your presence here today. We know that it is the love that you have for NTA Abeokuta and your personal ties, particularly with our president too, and some other members there, that has really encouraged you to come. As you have honored us, may you continue to remain a man of honor.
After which the program ended on a beautiful note with a closing prayer.
Nítorí pé mélòó ni àwọn tó jẹ́ pé àjíjọ ṣe àjọlò àyè yìí tó ṣe pé nínú wọn ti jẹ́ pé Ọlọ́run orí ọ̀fẹ́ Ọlọ́run ọba náà ni a ní tí a sì wà ní ọjọ́ ti èní wíwà wa tí a wà lénìí kì í ṣe mímọ̀ ṣe wa orí ọ̀fẹ́ Ọlọ́run ọba ni torí ẹ̀ náà la ṣe ń fi ọpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run ọba ìjókòó wa ti èní Ọlọ́run má ṣe ní àṣemọ fún wa kí Ọlọ́run ọba tún jẹ́ ká tún pàdé láyọ̀ àti àlàáfíà gbogbo ìgbà yòówù tí wọ́n bá ń pè wá k'Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kí a lè máa jáde àwọn nínú wa náà tó ṣe pé wọ́n wà lórí àárẹ̀ tí wọ́n wà nínú ilé tí wọ́n lè jáde náà k'Ọlọ́run kó bá fún wọn lálàáfíà àwọn táwa ní náà k'Ọlọ́run má gbà àlàáfíà lára wa Ọlọ́run kó ṣàánú wa má fi eléyìí ṣe àṣemọ fún wa Ọlọ́run kó pẹ̀lú wa.